As a Member of Parliament, I did my best to try and diversify the farmers' incomes, because we were mainly based on maize farming. That was the main income that we were based on. So I tried to diversify the farming habits by introducing a lot of coffee farming. Like, if this was the season and we were harvesting now, we'd probably run the machine from around 4 to 6. We'll have finished the pulping, so it reduces the amount of work, like 48 hours. For avocado, before I left Parliament, I started introducing avocado. In fact, I got a total of 5,000 seedlings from National Irrigation Board, which I distributed to farmers. To run an avocado farm is cheaper, far, far cheaper. You see, with coffee, there's an activity going on every time. Every time there's something you are doing. The returns are good, between 40 to 50 tons per acre. And if a ton is going for 5,000, then you are looking at close to 250,000 per acre. For the smallholder farmers, I advise that you actually have to be realistic. Look at the size of your land and how much can you do. Look at high value crops like avocado, coffee, and dairy. To me, those 4 key things will be what we call the cash crops, the income generating activities of the low holder farmer.
How Bungoma was left behind in terms of agriculture was because we did not take the keen interest on diversifying our agriculture.
We've not taken keen interest on diversifying our agriculture and keen interest in ensuring that whatever agricultural activities the farmers are involved in is paying.
These are the words of Dr. David Eseli, former Member of Parliament for Tongaren constituency. Today, he walks a different path, not in Parliament building, but through rows of avocado trees, coffee shrubs, and sugarcane fields in Naitiri, Bungoma County.
I'm Major Retired Dr. David Eseli Simiyu. Mimi mzaliwa wa hapa. I've been brought up on this farm. I grew up here as a child.
After 2 years of policy making and public service, Dr. Eseli traded the Parliament bench for a pair of gumboots, answering a call that had always been close to his heart: agriculture.
So I was an MP for 15 years until 2022, when I lost the election and put on what I call factory settings. My factory settings are farming, because I grew up here as a farmer. And that's what I've been doing for the 2+ years that I've been at home.
Today, he is a passionate farmer growing avocados, coffee, and sugarcane. But his journey didn't start after politics. Even as an MP, Dr. Eseli empowered local farmers, championing agricultural diversification to boost rural incomes.
I started farming while still as a lecturer, as an MP. I was doing bits and pieces of farming, but not seriously. But since I left Parliament, I took it seriously. Of course, I realized that this is a small piece of land, so a bit of my farming, I lease land, mainly in Trans Nzoia. And what I lease in Trans Nzoia is mainly for sugarcane growing. That's what I do there. But here, I've zeroed in on sugarcane farming and coffee farming, and now I've started avocado farming on a small scale. As a Member of Parliament, I did my best to try and diversify the farmers' incomes, because we were mainly based on maize farming. That was the main income that we were based on. So I tried to diversify the farming habits by introducing a lot of coffee farming. In fact, I've just finished off the nursery, but lower down there I had a commercial coffee nursery, which was KEFI certified, and I was propagating seedlings, both Batian and Ruiru 11, such that many farmers bought their seedlings from here and diversified. So that I would say that I've been part of the diversification to diversify the farmers' incomes, both in Western and North Rift, because I had the biggest KEFI certified nursery. But after Coffee Research Institute started having problems, so getting seeds for Ruiru 11, getting seeds for Batian became difficult, and I opted out. On this end, I have about 15 acres of coffee, and on the other end, another 15, so totaling about 30 acres, which we pulp. We have a pulper there. We'll go there after some time. You'll see it. We do the pulping ourselves, then now take it to market.
And when it's harvest time, he doesn't rush to the market. First, he pulp his coffee using his own machine, ensuring quality control from tree to cup.
So this is the pulping station. People call it a coffee factory, but it's really a pulping station, a sort of value addition. Once you have harvested the coffee, after the harvesting, we select out the unripe ones, we remove, overripe ones we separate. Then we put them in the machine. It removes the cover. That's what's called pulping. Then it comes down here, and here it's separated into the heavy ones, medium ones, and the light ones. So you'll find that we have, that's what we call P1, P2, and P3. So these channels are used to separate that coffee. But the machine inside there is a Brazilian machine which uses electricity, and after pulping, it also removes the mucilage. It has a mucilage remover. That way you avoid the 48 hours of soaking the beans before you wash. Like if this was the season and we were harvesting now, we'd probably run the machine from around 4 to 6. We'll have finished the pulping. Then the following morning we wash. So with the overnight underwater, then we wash. So it reduces the amount of work, like 48 hours. And once it comes out, then we use sun drying on these beds. Once it's dry, you get a moisture of around 12.5, then we pack and send now to the miller. That's the miller now removes the hard husk on top. But at least we've done the initial value addition of pulping. Because with the 30 acres here, we are able to handle all our coffee. In fact, we can handle more, but it's able to handle all our coffee for pulping.
When hundreds of avocado seedlings were delivered to the region, he didn't just distribute them. He led by example, planting his own.
For avocado, before I left Parliament, I started introducing avocado. In fact, I got a total of 5,000 seedlings from National Irrigation Board, which I distributed to farmers. And I also planted. But we had missed a step. We had missed a major step. We had not trained our people on how to plant avocado. So now I've teamed up with a team from the next ward. They are a cooperative, an avocado cooperative. So they go out, train groups, then I source for the seedlings and supply them.
Now, the county government of Bungoma has embarked on training local farmers on avocado farming as a means of boosting their income. This happens in the wake of increased demand for the fruit, which is gaining traction globally. Over 200 farmers received the training on how to supplement their income and diversify from maize to sugarcane, whose earnings have been shrinking in recent years.
He understood earlier on that spacing is critical for healthy avocado growth and maximum yields.
This is about 4 acres that I've put under avocado as a test run. I told you that I'm diversifying. So initially we had planted with very wide spacing, but on advice I was informed that I can add more in between, and those are the young ones that you are seeing. This one we've just planted this April. That's when we planted that. But this one was planted last year, and the ones that are looking older, they were planted last year. So we do have a problem with water. I've not put in an irrigation system yet, but I'm hoping to put in an irrigation system to do that. Now, so that the land doesn't just sit there idle, we usually plant. Last year we planted beans, both April and August. So this year again we've put in beans. And it brings a good harvest of the beans too, as we wait for the avocado to mature. Mainly what we use here is organic manure, That's what we put. And that's what these youngsters they are doing, putting in organic manure. We don't put any chemical fertilizer. The most we've used is foliar feed, where we've done some foliar feed for vegetative foliar feed to increase the foliage. Because when the dry season came, we lost a number of plants, which we have now replaced again because of the dry season. But mainly because we didn't have a well-regulated irrigation system. But once that is put in, then those losses can be curtailed. Like this one is about 1 year old now. These are the initial ones that we planted last year. So perhaps the earliest we can harvest anything from here is next year. Otherwise, right now, if it puts on any flowers, we remove. To run an avocado farm is cheaper, far cheaper. You see, with coffee, there's an activity going on every time. Every time there's something you are doing. But with the avocado, no, there isn't a lot. You don't put in as much. You don't require as much inputs as for coffee.
Sugarcane farming is also part of his journey. As one of the pioneers behind the Naitiri Sugar Company, Dr. Eseli continues to grow cane, mainly on leased land beyond his own village.
Since I was on the forefront of lobbying for this sugar factory to be put here at Naitiri, I felt that as a leader, I must also be growing sugarcane to be at par with the constituents, the people that I was leading. So I've done here 10 acres of sugarcane. This we harvested April last year. So the crop you see here now is about 1 year old, waiting for another 6 months before we harvest again. That will be the third harvest, and well taken care of, I can harvest up to 4 times from the same piece of land. And that's what I'm intending to do here. After the third harvest, I'll prepare the land properly so that I get a 4th harvest. Sugarcane farming is a new crop in this area, both here in Tongaren constituency and Trans Nzoia. So many farmers have not yet got the grasp of it, of how to do it well. And that's what I was saying, that we need extension officers, agronomists, to be actually going around to show the farmers how best to take care of their sugarcane. I had my own trouble with this piece of land, but eventually I managed to get the hang of it. I think now I know exactly what to do when. I've ventured further into Trans Nzoia, leasing land and planting sugarcane, and that's what I've been doing for this time I've been at home. But this particular piece of land is within the land that we own in Naitiri. It's about 10 acres. The returns are good. The critical thing is, how did you do it? How did you plant? How did you take care of the crop? If you follow the proper steps of planting the crop and taking care of the crop, the returns are good, between 40 to 50 tons per acre. And if a ton is going for 5,000, then you are looking at close to 250,000 per acre. Maize can't give you that. If you remove your costs, you are looking at about 200,000 per acre. Maize can't give you that. But the critical thing is, how did you take care of that crop as you planted it, and how did you plant it, the steps that you took? That's the critical thing.
Dr. Eseli has a legacy of tabling the motion about the subsidized fertilizers, one which the government is disbursing to farmers.
If we were to delve into politics, what legacy I've left, let me just mention a few. I've not been beating my chest, but I think I need to mention a few. Even this subsidized fertilizer, I'm the cause. When I went to Parliament in 2007, December, we were sworn in. And after electing the speaker and everything, the first sitting of Parliament, there was only one question on the order paper. And it was by the newcomer, Dr. Eseli Simiyu. And I asked Kibaki's government, the fertilizer is too expensive. What are you going to do to safeguard the farmers? And that was the beginning of this subsidized fertilizer.
Though he managed to achieve a lot, Eseli is reluctant to going back to the health industry due to lack of resources and equipments.
I've got a lot of doubts whether I'll go back, because looking at the health industry in Kenya right now, it's not the health industry that I was trained in. It's become more commercial, more profit-oriented than service-oriented. And that sort of goes against the grain for me. And that's perhaps why I've not been very keen on going back. Then when you look at the public sector of public health, the public sector of health, it's so run down, especially after the counties took over. You've seen all these doctors striking, all these nurses striking. It's very painful when you are trying to treat somebody. You know what to do, but you don't have the resources. You don't have the equipment. It's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating.
He believes education is the seed of transformation. That's why he encourages young people to embrace smart farming, because the future of agriculture depends on knowledge, resilience, and innovation.
For the smallholder farmers, I advise that you actually have to be realistic. Look at the size of your land and how much can you do on it. So the most I can say is if you have an acre and less, just avoid things like sugarcane. They might not be very useful for you. But look at high value crops like avocado, coffee, and dairy, those three, for the very small pieces of land. But for the bigger pieces of land, maybe if you have 2 acres or so, you can do 1 acre of sugarcane, some bit of avocado, some bit of coffee, and dairy. To me, those 4 key things will be what we call the cash crops, the income generating activities of the low holder farmer. Dairy, first, because no dairy gives you a daily income. So you will not be short of money at any time. Then avocado, because it will give you a good income which can cover your school fees and things like that. Coffee, the same. It gives you a 1 yearly payment which can actually boost you quite well. And if you have more land, then you can do sugarcane. Then of course you're advised, if you are a smallholder like that, we don't expect you to go and buy your maize for food and for ugali and so on. Plant some maize for your own food, for the family's food. That's the only advice I can give. Otherwise, with the land fragmentation so far, it will become extremely difficult to make a small plot of land profitable. There's a limit to how small it can be and still remain profitable.